guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. I was talking with my buddy Brian Smith today. I got up at about 9 o'clock this morning and I've been on the phone literally all day long. And here it is 6:30 at night and I still physically haven't gotten anything done today. And I am exhausted. My brain is just fried. So please bear with me as I go through this. Now, the gentleman that bought my Henry is just a little bit skittish on what he wants to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few minutes and we're going to go through this step by step. And we're going to talk about how the thing is going to come to him. And then we're going to talk to him about what he needs to do to actually hook it up and run it. So let us begin. Okay, Mr. Hotdog, this is what we're going to do. We're going to identify all the parts that we have. These are your tubes. They're going to come in their own separate containers. This is a 3500Z tube. See how clear that is? It's minty. Now when I went and I cleaned these tubes, because they are older, these are the original iMacs that come in it, but they're still at 100%. You can see the iMac label in there just a little bit. This one's a little bit darker. When I went and I cleaned them, the iMac kind of came off. That's what happens with the paint. But you look at the body of the tube and it's pristine, the glass is clear. Same thing with this one. So let's identify our parts. You've got your tube, then you've got your anode cap. And in the top of each one of the anode caps, you're going to have a screw. It's very important that we don't lose that screw. Screw. Now these beautiful little pieces of glass, they're going to come in their own separate container as well. These are called a chimney. Okay? These are a little bit hard to find. You can still get them from Ameritron. This is a piece of Pyrex glass that is heat tempered. And the way the amplifier cools itself is it's got a blower that pushes air up over the pins of the sockets for the tube, and then it encapsulates the anode body, the envelope, this glass body, with cool air. So you're going to have air rush in this side, and this is literally going to sit just like this. We get the whole amp assembled. See that? So cool air rushes around the body of the tube, goes through the envelope of glass, and exhausts out the top of the tube, out of the top of the chimney, and it goes across the anode caps. Okay? Now there are some upgrades that you can do. One of the upgrades that you can do is you can get a different anode cap. This little top piece. This is machined from a piece of single billet, and they make different height anode caps, and they got to do that for a reason. Internally on the amplifier, each amplifier, for the most part, is going to have a different set of clearances in it. These are my dirty whores. These 3500Z Taylor tubes that I have here in my hand have been in probably 300 different amplifiers at this point, and they're still at full output, and I beat the brakes off these tubes. But the reason I'm bringing this into the game, because I want you to see the height in the anode caps. Okay, this has got low profile caps on it. Now the reason we got to bring that to attention is because this anode cap has literally got 10 times the amount of surface area to it as this little guy. Now this is the tube's main way of cooling itself, other than the heat that comes through a vacuum envelope, through the glass. The only part of it that actually touches the outside universe is going to be this anode cap. So if you get a bigger anode cap, it allows the tube to get rid of more heat, which means more life out of the tube, right? Well, this particular anode cap is designed to go in amplifiers that will receive this kind of anode top. Or if we put the same anode cap up against this 3500Z, which is designed, this cap is designed to go into a different amplifier, you can see now it's pretty obvious here that if we're talking about air rushing out, and it's going to sit something like that, if we're talking about air rushing out around these fins, which do you think is going to transfer more heat to the air passing by it? This guy or this guy? Now these particular anode caps, which we're going to do a full review on, are, well, available at rfjunk.com. It's owned by my friend Chris, who owns BM Technologies, or BM Amps, or BM Technology. Anyhow, RF Junk. He's got 4 or 5 different versions. You want to make sure that you get the right height. That's the primary thing. But they make big ones. They make ones that are like this big, and they make ones that are this big, and they make ones that are flat with a little circle. I prefer this design because you can see the air. You can visually think about it. Visualize this in your head, the air rushing through it, instead of having to wrap around it and hit the fins on the side. This is scooching good. Okay, so we've identified our parts. Let's move forward. Okay, Hotdog, here we are now. This is the front of the amplifier facing away from us, and this is the back end. Okay? So when you get the amp, you're going to undo the screw here, there's a screw here, and 2 more at the top. And once you undo those screws with a Phillips head screwdriver, and very carefully, and this is tight, very carefully pull this grill up. You don't want to bend it. It's perforated. Look at how clean this is on both sides. Very carefully remove this lid. 4 screws. That's all you got to do. Underneath that, you're going to find your inner high voltage guard shield. Okay? There's going to be a screw here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 up here at the top, 1 in the middle, and 1 over in this top corner. Now to take this out, Hotdog, is a little bit of a trick. So, you're going to slide this forward just a little bit, and then you're going to slide it to one side. And if you slide it forward just far enough into one side, this will very smoothly and easily lift out. That's going to expose our RF deck. This is your tuner portion, this is your amplifier portion, okay? Now, you told me, now listen. He's talking to me on the phone. He goes, now listen, BBI. I'm just a country boy. So we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to use big terms or any reason. Or just, this is what it is. You've got this cap. Now remember, there's not any high voltage present. There's so many safeties that are involved with this box. As soon as we took that cage off, this little shorting bar that's right here, this pin, popped up. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Popped up and made sure everything was grounded out. Now this thing's been unplugged, and I've verified with the meter on the front that it's discharged. And this cap is your last little bit of protection. This little high voltage catch. So now that we've verified that that's touched, we're going to reach in here and very, very, very carefully torque these up out of the way. You don't want to over torque them because there's little tiny resistors and stuff that are in there. So just stand them up straight. Now we're going to take our tube and we're going to look at the socket. Switch sides of the camera so this is not so awkward for me. We're going to look at our socket. And you see the pin pattern here? Got this big, 2 big spaces in here. We're going to look at the socket. And we're going to look down in here. And we're going to see that there's a pin here, an opening here, an opening here, an opening in here. So we're going to line the tube up so when it goes in, it's just like this. Slide it straight in and firmly push down on it. You'll want to go straight in. You don't want to go in at an angle. Go straight in and set the tube into the socket. It's really, really simple. We're going to do the same thing. Look at the bottom of the tube. Orientate our pins. Once again, this tit is going to go in that hole. And this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole are going to marry up with these pins. Rotate it around. Insert straight down. You don't have to force it down, just straight down. And you're in. So now we're going to take our glass chimneys. These beautiful old girls. We're going to very carefully and try and not bang the chimney into the tube. There are 4 little metal fingers that are at the bottom of that chimney, and they're sticking straight up. And you want to make sure that the fingers are on the outside of the glass, gripping the chimney from the outside, like this. You're going to grab it on the outside. You don't want the fingers on the inside, you want them on the outside. So let's do that again. Slide the chimney over the tube. See, now I missed the one in the back, one in the front. Now the glass chimneys are going to sit flat against the floor. So that means you want your tubes to be center in this opening, so the air can exhaust over the top of the anode evenly. Now what we do is we get our flat blade screwdriver, and we very carefully and very gingerly marry up this strap to the top of the tube. And the same thing with this one. Now I'm not going to put this back together because I don't want to have to twist these back and forth too many times, but I think it's really obvious what we've got to do here, right? Okay, so now once you have the tubes in, the straps on top of the anodes, we're going to grab our lid again. This is your safety shield. So we're going to take this back corner and we're going to line it up again with the back of the cabinet. Line it up. We're going to dip it underneath the edge and slide it down in. Set it in place. Then we're going to pick it up. So once we get it walk center, you're going to pick it up, allowing the little safety tab that's right here in the middle of the amp, right here, to sit firmly underneath this little finger. Very clear. And then what we're going to do, sorry 300, I'll call you back in a minute, bro. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reinsert our screws, secure the lid, and we're going to bring our outside shield piece and then we're going to reinstall it as well. Once all the screws have been reassembled and the lid's back on, then and only then can we start talking about hooking things up to the amplifier. On to the next step. Give me just a second, I got to resituate everything here. Hey Trouble, what are you doing? Okay, so we're now joined by my little black lab. He's out here kicking it with us, so he decides to pop in the frame. That's on him. Okay, so Brother Hotdog, this is what we're doing. This is the backside. Hi, Dad's working. Hi. Say hi to everybody. Come in here. Come in here. Look. Say hi to everybody. Hi, everybody. Okay, so this is the backside of your amplifier. Now listen, we gotta follow a certain set of steps to make sure no matter what we do, we're gonna stay safe. The very first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna loosen this nut right here. Stop. Loosen this nut right here, and you're gonna attach your ground wire. Now every radio guy that's worth his salt, and I say this tongue in cheek, has got 2 or 3 ground rods outside his station, all tied together with like 1 or 2 inch wide ground strap, tied to the mother of all earth grounding systems, and you're going to bring that and attach that right here. Okay. You don't want to attach it to your electrical ground in your house. You want to have an independent ground for your station, and you want to attach it here. You're going to do that first. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to hook up your coax. Okay, your coax from your antenna or your watt meter. All right. Then you're going to hook up your coax from your driver, which I suggest just a little tiny 2-pill. Does something that does about 200 watts, maybe 250 at the most. From your driver. That's the coax that goes there. Then you're going to hook up your foot pedal, which looks remarkably like this, because this is your foot pedal that I just built for you today. You're going to hook that right up here. We're going to explain this here in just a minute. This is for your forward power meter adjustment. Don't worry about that. In your ALC, the kind of radio that you're going to use, you're not going to use this circuit whatsoever, so you don't need to worry about that. Ground first. coax to the antenna, coax from the radio driver, foot pedal. Okay, let's go around to the front side. Once again, we're down here with the little lab. Alright, so this is the front side of your amplifier. You'll leave this switch down here so it shows you volts, and it's going to show that to you here on this meter. Okay? This is your on-off switch. Right here. Alright? Now I want to show you, down here on the front of this thing, this is really important. There's a little access panel that's hidden underneath the front of this thing. We're going to flip this down. In here is where your fuses are at and your reset. Now the high voltage on this thing is, on all Henrys, is very well safetied. Okay? So now there's a couple little interlocks on the inside of this thing, and for any reason the high voltage sees an arc, or the power supply sees a surge, or you have a tube go bad, you're going to have to come access this panel. Otherwise you're never going to get in here for anything. Alright? You have your two fuses for your high voltage and your filament, and you have your overall breaker for the entire amplifier. Off, on. When the reset is tripped, there's a little red LED that's up here in the top right hand corner. That'll kick on and tell you must reset the amp. Reset the amp. So you turn the amplifier to the off position. Turn the amplifier to the off position. You're going to cycle the breaker off. Count to 10, cycle the breaker back on, punch the reset button, and you can turn the amplifier back on. That's all for safety, safety interlock. Now this switch here is for your high voltage high-low. In the CW position, low. Sideband, high. I think that's how it works with Henry. Anyhow, before you move this knob, it's very important that you turn the amplifier off. Do not flip the switch in operation. This is literally the difference between high and low on the amp. Flip the switch to off, click to the off position, wait for your high voltage to bleed off on this meter up here, right up here, bleed down, reach down here and go boop, click the switch, come back over here, turn the amplifier back on. And it'll go funk, come right to life. So with the amplifier in the off position, now that you've got everything hooked up safely and orientated correctly and installed properly, you can turn the amplifier on. You'll have lighting between these two dials, and you'll have lighting behind these two meters. And it'll go boom, and you're going to hear the little blower spin up on the inside. That's it, you're done. Leave it in the 10 meter position for where you're going to run it, and you're good to go. But, like I said, it's fully functional in all other modes. But this is specifically set up for 10 meters, this spot. Alright, let's jump back over to the workbench. Okay, let's cover this last topic. Then I gotta go rip all this stuff apart and get ready to ship this amplifier out to you. The foot pedal. Now guys, what we're watching here, and what you're all watching, if you've decided to tune in and check this video out, is a one-on-one on how to safely hook up a Henry amplifier or any other tube amplifier. Now, the gentleman that purchased this thing has been in the game for a long time, but he wanted a refresher course. And he goes, look, I'm not no rocket scientist, but I'm a good old boy. And I said, cool, I'm going to make you a very detailed instruction video on how to go about assembling this thing when you get it on your side of the street. That way there's no problems whatsoever. So I'm going to cover foot pedal operation. It's really simple. Once you get past about 2,000 watts, you really don't want to have a foot pedal anymore. Or, I mean, you really don't want to have an auto key anymore. Pardon me. You don't want to have an auto key. Let me grab this as a visual aid here. Take the lid off this and we'll talk about why we have to have a foot pedal. Auto keys are great, cute, and fine until you start getting really high up in output power. So this is your standard clacker relay. Okay. So just think about this. When you go and you fire down a mic, click. The auto key circuit that's in the amplifier waits to see a little bit of RF coming from the input jack. It sees that, takes a little bit of that signal, charges a little tiny transistor, and it fires a relay. For half of 1/1,000,000th of a second, the RF that's coming from the radio has got nowhere to go, because the relay is moving through its state of motion. So it's going from RF coming in, we'll say, goes across, hits this contact point, we'll jumper these two poles together, goes across, goes out, and goes out to the other coax connector. As soon as the relays break contact, just like that, until this relay makes contact with the other side, the RF has nowhere to go. And if you ever open anything or run anything, like I did a 32 pill for Brian Smith, and I was running it without the cabinet on it on Facebook. And I got about 10 comments, because the first time I fired that relay down, which was big like this, and the camera was sitting kind of off at this oblique angle, and it's got an auto keyer in it. As soon as I fired it down, you see this whack, big, psh, bright blue arc. Psh. Well, it does that every single time you key. Reason for that is you got a 1 driving 2, or pardon me, radio driving 2 pill, driving 4 pill. You got about 1,000 watts that are passing through this connection here, that's got nowhere to go. So for a hot second, it's breaking the connection from one point here and then making connection on the other side.
Yes.
Whack.
Yes.
Big arc. Big arc. Well, if your signal, your receive signal, hold on guys, let me mute this. My phone's just been going crazy today. Just going crazy today. Your receive signal, that's not several thousand watts worth of power and 1 billion volts. It's just a few microvolts. Well, that contact's arcing, builds up carbon score on the contacts, and you slowly start to lose your receive, and your SWR going through the amplifier starts going up. So after you get past 1,000, 2,000 watts, I don't know, you'll never get me to build a 48 pill auto key. Won't happen. 32 pill, I'm on the fence with it. As long as it's got a big open air frame relay that you can get in there and clean the contacts, okay. But listen, foot pedal, way cooler. Way, way cooler. So Hotdog, back to you real quick, bud. This is what you're going to do. This is the sequence of events. Now this is called a foot pedal. Now I personally, this thing's brand new, 100% new, not used, not repurposed. This is what these guys make these things for. And this is made for a machine factory, okay? Like where you're standing there and you're, oh, we're gonna run a punch all day long, and somebody's gotta stand there and they're gonna click this thing 100,000 times a day. And it's made of cast aluminum. Very scooch and heavy duty. That means big fat kids like myself can stand on these and don't break them. I have 3 of these that I have to use on my station, plus a secondary trigger to run all the radios and stuff, as you guys have seen in the Dowkey video. This thing here is the stuff. It's got a rubberized foot on it for grip. It's got reinforcements on the back. This is a commercial grade foot pedal. The only thing this thing was ever designed to do was open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. Okay. You can even screw it down to a board if you wanted to. This is your foot pedal, Hotdog. This is the one that's going to come with your amp. It's got 22 feet worth of wire that's attached to it. When it comes time, you're going to step on this foot pedal. And what you're going to do is you're going to step on the foot pedal, click, spike the mic. You're going to hold the foot pedal down. Oh, Roger, right on. Roger, right on. Roger, right on. Hotdog, got down. Unkey the mic, come off foot pedal. Foot pedal, mic. Off the mic, off the foot pedal. Foot pedal, mic. Talk, 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 talk. Off the mic, off the foot pedal. Generations of men have come forth before you and have had to figure this sequence of events out. Long before I was swimming around in the bottom side of my father's nads, there was men out there stepping on foot pedals saying they got down someplace. Or copy that right back to the group. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This is a very commonly accepted way of getting your amplifier into transmit. You'll find that there is a large portion of amplifiers out there that require this. Henry, SB220, SB221, SB200, most of the Kenwood amplifiers. But what they have been designed to work with is an amateur radio that has a send signal from the radio. So when you fire the mic down on the radio, it then in turn internally fires a relay and trips the amplifier. Most common amateur radios have what they call an amp key circuit built in them, but they're not robust enough to handle the Henry, the SB220s, the Kenwoods, those kind of things. You have to get an aftermarket box because, why you ask? Most modern amateur radios will only switch on 12 volts. So 110 ground switch right here for the Henry and the SB220, that kind of thing. So it takes us something a little bit more potential, substantial, a little bit more robust. And this is the most reliable. I buy 2 or 3 of these at a time. These are actually made by Motorola, at least they were. So if you type into eBay or Amazon, Motorola foot pedal, they make these commercially, brand new. Buy it right now, replacement part. I mean, they don't need to be made of plastic. I would never have a plastic foot pedal. No way, no how. They make all different kinds of foot pedals, but this is the one that I'm going to give you for free with your amplifier. So make sure you can hit the ground running on your side of the street. Scooch heavy duty. Love these things. They make them so that they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they make them so that they have a bar that literally goes click from this foot pedal to the next one. So when you step on one pedal, you're actually stepping on 2, and then they make them so that they got another bar, so it goes 1, 2, and then you can do 3, or you got it so you can lock all 4 at the same time. They make them so they're huge and they're wide. It's like Bigfoot could trip it if he wanted to. It's all a sense of preference. But this is heavy duty. It's small, low profile for the most part. There's a lot of girth to this thing because it's made out of cast aluminum. The spring is very robust. The stop point on it is very robust, and that's the reason I like using these. So, on that note, that is the 101 on your Henry 2K-4 4 model. Brother, I hope you have a lot of fun getting down on this thing. And don't tear your neighbors up too awful bad. Your neighbors on the radio, that is. Remember, we're all in this game together. All right, guys, I got to go. That is the 101 on how to hook up a Henry from transport. And the reason I've got to do a public video for this is that this gentleman doesn't have an email I could send him the link to, so I just thought I'd throw it out there for everybody to look at. I appreciate you all tuning in. I got to get back to work. I've got to actually physically get something done today, because sitting around talking on the phone, God knows that don't pay the bills. So, that note, peace, yo, chicken trees. I'll see you guys later. Bye.